And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
For Thursday morning, we've got IFR again along the north slope to the Arctic coast, on down through the Chukchi Sea to St. Lawrence Island and into Norton Sound. A little bit of IFR here over the eastern southeastern Bering Sea, and then a huge area pushing into the western Bering, pushing all the way eastward here, well past Atka Island. And good VFR over the interior with marginal VFR, Kenai Peninsula across the Gulf of Alaska, on in toward the southern southeast coast. And then for Thursday afternoon, southern half of the Panhandle marginal, northern half VFR. VFR here over the interior, all the way down Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula. Marginal VFR developing here for the Alaska Range and over the Talkeetnas. Otherwise, good VFR right up to the Brooks Range, but north of the mountains there, IFR on out to the Arctic coast. And looks like some IFR here from the Pribilof Islands right into Cape Newenham. And IFR from roughly just west of Nikolsky all the way out to Shimianatu. And for Friday morning, IFR, North Slope Arctic coast, across the Chukchi Sea, now into about Kotzebue, and then towards Selawik, more of a marginal condition there. Farther to the east, as you can see, good VFR. With IFR, though, down across or into at least the north shore of St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta coast, Nunivak Island, Pribilofs, and the Aleutians, IFR. And some IFR for the western Alaska Range over the Talkeetnas, otherwise VFR for northern Cook Inlet, eastward across Prince William Sound, on in across the southeast coast, except marginal VFR, Prince of Wales Island, on over toward Misty Fjords. And then that burns back to VFR over the southern southeast coast and portions of the inside waters a little farther to the north there, with marginal VFR for the eastern North Gulf Coast. VFR interior Alaska, North Slope Arctic coast now marginal. A little bit IFR forecast there on the east side of Kodiak Island. Pasagchak on up to Cape Chiniak, those areas, maybe Marmot Bay. And IFR for the Chukchi Sea, right through the central Bering down to the Aleutians. And for passes, Anatuvik, VFR. VFR for Adigan as well, and Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR. Marginal for rainy, marginal for windy, and IFR, VFR for Isabel. And then VFR as well from Antasta. Tanita, VFR to start, becoming marginal VFR possibly in the afternoon. And for Portage, pretty good conditions, both east and west, VFR through the entire day. Chilkoot and White looking good as well. And for the freezing level, 2,000 feet here over the western interior and also down over the southeast coast. And then quite a range here out over the southwest Bering Sea and the Aleutians, anywhere from 2,000 to 10,000 feet. Icing, could be some areas of isolated moderate icing here right up into the southwest coast, across the Pribilof Islands, and north of the chain out to Shimianatu. Otherwise, a little bit more significant icing possible there for the southeastern portion of the southeast coast. And from there, looking at the jet stream, that associated with this 70-knot southwest jet pulling enough moisture up to the north there and across the southern panhandle, with this low south of the Gulf of Alaska. High pressure there over the western Brooks Range, 65-knot winds blowing around that center. And then the strongest winds at 33,000 feet are actually the Pacific jet here, riding along the Aleutians up to 155 knots. And for 9,000 feet, the strongest winds at this elevation farther to the south there of the Aleutians. We've got southeast winds, or south to southeast winds, at about 35 knots now along the west coast there, with light winds over the interior down into the Gulf of Alaska, 35 knot southerlies, southern panhandle, and at 3,000 feet, we'll knock those down to about 25 knots there across Prince of Wales Island. Light winds, Kodiak Island, all the way up to the Arctic coast, 25 knot winds on the southwest coast. And the strongest winds here, even farther to the south there, with the couple of low centers here along the Aleutians. So moving on to turbulence, could be enough bumpiness there to qualify some isolated moderate for the Fox Islands and maybe out toward Shumiana too. Otherwise, none of any significance forecast for the remainder of the state.